What's cracking, Jack? You are in the jungle. We're going to break down every single game happening in the NFL Sunday, October 5th, and come up with the best bet for all of them right here, right now. Greetings, everybody. Welcome back to the show, and for joining us for the first time, welcome to the jungle. I've got a bet for every single game in the NFL Sunday, October 5th, and I'm going to leave for you two links in the comment section. The first link is to my $5 favorite play of the day. And for just $5 and no further obligation, you get my best NFL bet of the day text to your phone. The second link is to become a Jungle member. And for as little as 55 cents a day, you can become a Jungle member, become part of the fastest growing sports betting movement in the Western Hemisphere. It's a great time to join. We are 11-1 in our last 12 members' plays. Here's my picket slip right here for those games. You also get access to our members-only Discord. You get my full betting card sent to your phone every single morning, and you get a direct line to me if you'd like me to opine on any other bet that you're considering placing. We have a free weekly trial. Take it for a test spin and see if it's for you. Today's video is brought to you by Outlier.bet, the top name in sports betting research, and by Red Lobster, where yesterday's unfinished plates are today's appetizers. First game we're looking at is the Vikings and the Browns in Dublin, Ireland. So it is. Have a pint on me, fellas. Minnesota's minus 3.5. Now, we have to look at the fact that Minnesota has been there for 2 weeks. Every time we've seen an NFL team play back-to-back overseas games, the second game they've played better. They haven't necessarily won every time, but they've played better. And also when handicapping this game, we have to consider Browns rookie quarterback Dylan Gabriel making his first career regular season start on the road overseas against a Brian Flores defense that's third in the NFL against the pass, fourth in quarterback hurries, and fourth in turnovers. I expect a conservative game plan from Cleveland. The Browns defense is number 1 in the NFL in first down prevention, number 1 against the rush, and number 1 in yards allowed per play. And we know Carson Wentz has been a tale of two different starts for him. He's going to make mistakes, and Cleveland can force those mistakes at a more frequent clip. If I played a side here, I'd take the Browns with the 3.5. So I think it's going to be an ugly game, probably decided within a field goal. But I think the best game on the board, the best play on the board here is a player prop. And that's Browns running back Quinshon Judkins to have over 76.5 rushing yards. He's been a starter for 2 games, and he's eclipsed that number in both those games. I mentioned a conservative game plan I think the Browns will have. And if there's one place that you can beat the Vikings defense, it's running the football. They're third defending the pass, but 24th defending the run, allowing 130.2 yards per game on the ground. Pardon me. That's your play here. Quinshon Judkins over 76.5 rushing yards. Denver at Philadelphia. Philadelphia laying 4.5. I like the Broncos with the 4.5 here. The Eagles are a very talented team. We know that. But the Broncos are almost as talented. And I don't like what I've seen so far offensively from Philadelphia. Something's broken. They're winning, I know that, but something's broken. And I think that Denver matches up defensively well on the back end very well with Philadelphia's offense. They have 2 cornerbacks that I think they can trust man-to-man against A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Philadelphia hasn't run the football well this year. They're 15th in the NFL in rushing yards per game, 1 place behind the Las Vegas Raiders. Denver, however, does run the football well. Denver is running for 143.3 yards a game right now, 5th best in the NFL. I think that Sean Payton is very motivated for this game. You know, he let people know early on. He said, I think I have a Super Bowl caliber team here. And he did that. He put pressure on himself. You know, pressure does 2 things. It bursts pipes or it makes diamonds. I think Sean Payton's a diamonds guy. I think he's a much better coach than Nick Sirianni is. I think he'll have a good game plan. I think this will be a tightly contested game all the way to the final whistle. I think 4.5 points is too much here. Take them with the Broncos. Cowboys at the Jets. Jets plus 1.5. Take the Cowboys in the money line. It's a decent price, around minus 120 on most books. I don't think the Jets have a passing game whatsoever. I really don't. And they certainly can't sling it with Dak Prescott. Dallas has the most yards per game in the NFL. Dallas averages 404.3 yards a game, 281 through the air, which is 120 more yards per game passing than the Jets average. Dak Prescott should be able to torch the Jets secondary, who has the most overrated cornerback in NFL history in Sauce Gardner. Sauce does 1 or 2 things every time he's targeted. Either gets burned or gets a holding penalty. Both these defenses stink, but I think that the Dallas defense is playing more inspired football. And offensively, the capabilities aren't even close between these two teams. Take Dallas on the money line. Miami at Carolina. Carolina plus 1.5. I like the Panthers at home with the 1.5. The Miami defense is the worst unit on the field in this game, 26th in points allowed, 31st in third down conversion percentage allowed, 30th in rushing yards allowed, 30th in yards per play allowed, and dead last in quarterback hits. You can do anything you want to against this Dolphin defense. Offensively, it's their first week without Tyreek Hill, so there's going to be some adjustment here. And the one win that each team has one win. The more impressive one to me is Carolina's shutout victory over the Falcons. I think Carolina is going to win this game, but if you give me the 1.5, I'm going to take it. Panthers plus the 1.5. Let me tell you a short story about that. My Uncle Vinny was a bookie in New York City in the 90s. He owned a bar and ran things out of there. And he had this old Italian guy who worked for him named Joe Panzarella. And Joe would take calls from people, record all the bets, and collect when he had to. What Joe did, Joe was a good bettor himself. He'd take the temperature, the bets coming in, see where things are tilting, then he'd take his own money and go bet a different bookie. He was a very good bettor. And I remember I was 13 years old hanging out in Uncle Vinny's bar one day, and I heard Joe on the phone, Joe Panzarella on the phone, making a bet. And he took the Rams. They were playing the Vikings. He took the Rams plus 1.5. And he hung the phone up, and I said, Joe, do you think the Rams are going to win? I didn't know much about betting back then. But I said, you think the Rams are going to win the game? He said, I do. I said, then why didn't you just take them to win? Why'd you take the 1.5? And old Joe looked me right down the barrel, and he pointed his finger at me. And he said, kid, there are 3 things you never refuse in life when someone gives them to you. Number 1 is money. Number 2 is a drink. And number 3 is a 1.5. Well, the Rams went on to lose that game 24-23, and old Joe covered the spread. Give me Carolina plus 1.5. Giants at the Saints. Saints minus 1.5 at home. Essentially a pick'em price on the money line. I'm going against the public here, as 76% of the public is on the Giants, according to Outlier.bet. The Giants offense made a few plays last week, but certainly didn't look impressive, at least to me. The biggest factor in their win was the Chargers' loss of both their starting tackles, including All-Pro Joe Alt, who protects Justin Herbert's blindside. From the standpoint of just giving up points, the Saints have given up a lot, but that doesn't tell the whole story. The Saints' defense is the best unit on the field in this game. Similar to Cleveland, the Browns give up a ton of points, but they're the best defense in the NFL. Now, New Orleans isn't Cleveland's defense, but again, they're the best unit on the field. They're better than the Giants. The Saints are 18th against the run, 16th against the pass, 8th in tackles for loss, and 7th in sacks. Compared to the Giants' defense, who's terrible. The Giants are 29th against the run, 25th against the pass, dead last in first downs allowed. They allow 24 first downs a game. The Giants lose games they're supposed to lose. Take last week's outlier performance out of it. That in that Chargers game, that was a weird game to me. Giants are 2-14 their last 16 games as underdogs. I think Jackson Dart has more upside than Spencer Rattler, but I like Rattler's experience more in this game. The Saints are the better team here. Take New Orleans on the money line. Raiders at the Colts. Colts laying 6.5 points at home, and that's the side I want to be on. I think the Colts are a touchdown better than the Raiders. We have enough of a sample size now through 4 games that we can say the Colts offense is the real deal. They're 4th in scoring, averaging 30.8 points per game. They're 3rd in first downs. They get 23 first downs a game. They're 4th in passing yards and 8th in rushing yards. They also are 1st in yards per play with an average of 6.4 yards a play. You know what else they're also good at? Protecting their quarterback. Danny Dimes, who should be called so far this year, Danny Dollars. They are 1st in the NFL at not allowing sacks. The Raiders' offense is a one-trick pony. They're easy to defend. It's Geno Smith throwing the ball deep, and that's it. And when things aren't going well, he gets frustrated and forces the ball down the field in places he shouldn't, and it leads to turnovers. They don't have a short passing game. They don't have an intermediate passing game. And despite the sea parting perfectly a few runs last week for Ashton Jeanty, they don't have a running game either. Colts win this game by more than 6.5. Texans at the Ravens. Baltimore catching 1.5 points at home. Now, this line opened up at Baltimore minus 8.5. And with the news of Lamar Jackson being out, it swung 10 points the other direction. Now, I know that the Ravens are banged up defensively as well. I know that they're without Marlon Humphrey and Roquan Smith, but this line should not have moved 10 points. It's too much. Cooper Rush will be playing quarterback for the Ravens. He's 9-5 in his career as a starter, and Baltimore has old number 22 back there. I'm not that worried about the deficiency of the Ravens defense because the offense of the Texans is just as deficient. They're 29th in scoring, 31st out of 32, by the way. And red zone efficiency, 31st in third down efficiency and 30th in first downs. The list goes on and on. I like John Harbaugh. Was back against the wall here at home in a must-win game. Take the Ravens plus the 1.5. Tampa Bay at Seattle. I love the Seahawks laying the 3.5 at home in this game when their defense is humming, and they are humming right now. Seattle's one of the toughest places, if not the toughest place to play on the road in the NFL. The Seahawks defense has been incredible. Second in points allowed, allowing just 16.8 points a game. Second in yards allowed per play, fourth in turnovers, fifth in sacks, fourth in QB hurries. The defense is very opportunistic. They're going up against a feisty competitor in Baker Mayfield, but Baker's banged up. He's tough as nails, man. He'll be out there. But from his bicep to his ankle to his shoulder, he reminds me of Allen Iverson back in the day. Tough as can be, always dinged up, but always marching out there. But he's without his biggest weapon, Mike Evans. He's without his running back, Bucky Irving, without most of his starting offensive linemen. And the Seahawks won't allow the Buccaneers to come back the same way that the Eagles did last week. The Seahawks offense also has been very good this year. They've been cooking. Sixth in the NFL in points scored a game. They're scoring 27.8, lay the 3.5 at home with Seattle. Tennessee at Arizona. Cardinals laying 7.5 points at home. I like the Cardinals in this game. They win the games they're supposed to, and Tennessee is probably the worst team in the NFL. The Titans are dead last in scoring, dead last in third down conversion percentage, dead last in passing yards, dead last in yards per play, and rookie quarterback Cam Ward is getting hit 9 times a game, more than any quarterback in the NFL. Get this kid some help. The Cardinals' offense is a little bland, but they'll do just fine against the Tennessee Titans defense that allows 30 points a game and 5.9 yards per play, third most in the NFL. And the Cardinals' defense has been a sneaky good unit this year. Sixth in the NFL in points per game, allowing just 18.5. I think Arizona covers the spread at home here. Take the Cardinals minus 7.5. I want to take a second and talk about sports books, and MyBookie.ag has recently become a sponsor of the show. They're an overseas book, one of the biggest ones there is, similar to Pinnacle, books like that. So MyBookie.ag has a promotion, has a deal for Jungle viewers. If you open a new account at mybookie.ag using promo code SILVERBACK, your first bet up to $500 is refunded if it misses. That's right. Make your first bet with mybookie.ag using promo code SILVERBACK. And if your first bet misses, they'll refund it up to $500. MyBookie.ag has some of the most competitive lines in the industry. Bet on everything you're accustomed to. Sides, player props, totals, everything there is. MyBookie.ag, promo code SILVERBACK. Next game we're looking at, Commanders at the Chargers. Interesting game. Chargers laying 2.5 at home. Jaden Daniels coming back for Washington. I think the Chargers win this game, but I'm a little concerned about the 2 starting tackles being out. My favorite bet in this game is a player prop. It's Chargers running back Omarion Hampton over 1.5 rushing. That'd be great. Over 91.5 rushing plus receiving yards. His last 2 games, he had 129 rush plus receiving against the Broncos and 165 rush plus receiving against the Giants. When you have 2 backup tackles starting like the Chargers do in this game, the best way to cover that weakness is run the ball between the tackles. I expect a heavy dose of Hampton in this game. He's the only running back to have any carries last game for the Chargers. I mean, if the backfield is all his. And they've been featuring him in the passing game as well. He was targeted 5 times last week. Should be a lot of runs between the tackles. Quick screens this weekend against a Commanders team that is 23rd in the NFL in yards per play allowed. Omarion Hampton over 91.5 rushing plus receiving yards. Lions at the Bengals. Detroit minus 9.5. And that's the side that I want to be on here. The Lions beat the Browns by 24. They beat the Bears by 31, and they're not a team that takes a foot off the gas pedal. We know that. And they're the much more talented team here. I talked earlier about Tennessee being maybe the worst team in the NFL. Well, that word maybe was in there only because Cincinnati exists in the NFL. They're 30th in points per game, 31st in first downs, 30th in passing yards, dead last in rushing yards, and defensively, not much better. 30th in passing yards allowed, 30th in third down conversions allowed, 27th in points per game allowed. Lions minus 9.5 is the play. They'll win by 10. And the last game we're looking at for Sunday, now we'll have a standalone game video for Monday Night Football, Chiefs and Jaguars, but the last game we're looking at for Sunday is New England at Buffalo, a game happening 10 minutes from my home here in Lancaster, New York. Buffalo's laying 7.5, and I think the Bills are an upset alert here. I think 7.5 is too many points. First of all, the Bills haven't really blown anybody out this year except for the lowly Jets. Buffalo hasn't really dominated anybody, and I think the Patriots will be able to throw the ball against the Bills' overrated pass defense. New England is actually 7th in the NFL in passing yards per game, and I think they'll be able to run the football against the Bills' defense that's 31st against the run, allowing 164.2 yards per game on the ground. I think Josh Allen is probably the best player in the NFL, but the passing game hasn't been elite this season. Buffalo has won their games because of the running game. New England stops the run very well. They're number 2 in the NFL defensively against the run, allowing just 77.5 yards per game on the ground. They also get to the running back very quickly. The Patriots are 4th in tackles for loss. Take New England with the 7.5 points. Let's have a day, Jungle Nation, and I'll see you next time with a little more money in your pocket.